That's how you can really step into your authenticity and creativity.
I wonder what their story is. Why are they here? What are they doing? Like, what's going on in that life?
It's easy to get noticed, but it's harder to stand out.
Welcome back to
What's
Art
up?
Home episode 2, guys.
We have a guest here with us
Special
today.
guest, guys.
Introduce
Hello.
yourself,
The
please.
star of the show.
Hi, I'm Riley. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yup.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about how to stand out in a world full of noise.
Mm-hmm. So one of the concepts that I love that speaks so greatly to this is zag when everybody else is zigging. So really what that means,
Whoa.
yeah, it's from a book called Zag. So yeah.
So cool. I just heard about it before this from
Yeah.
Delaney, and I love it.
So basically, when everybody's making a certain type of content, go the other way. So right now, that would be what I was talking about last episode, the flashy captions, B-roll, which is fine. But, don't make it look like everybody else is. So zag when everybody else is zigging. So what do you think, would be a good example of somebody, in our industry, the videos that we do with people, both of you, who do you think does a great job at that?
Do you want to go first, Riles?
Yeah. So some the people who are different in our industry.
Yeah, with the video tours, with agents.
I think the first person that comes to my mind and a lot of people's mind is anyone like Sam Hartman or Ben Rule or Jordan Wildman, just people who just are themselves on camera
Yeah.
and play into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely different from most regular agent walkthroughs or real estate videos.
Yeah.
To where it's engaging, it's
Yeah.
hooky immediately off the bat. It catches your eyes, your ears, it
Yeah.
catches everything. And they're just being themselves and having fun. And you can tell, I think what's really important, with any kind of art form like that is you can, on the other end of it, you can feel that they were having fun making it. I think that's really important.
Authentic.
Yeah.
Authentic, and just it was made for, a good purpose. And I think that really comes through in a lot of their videos, especially.
Yeah.
We dove into that last episode too. If you want to hear more about being authentic, being true to your brand, yourself, being original, check out episode 1.
Yeah.
But we can we can elaborate on that too again.
Yeah. I think, Jordan Wildman for sure is one of them. I mean, with the Barbie video, the Mario Kart, that's so different. And, it brings to light, the house. Rather than just walking through a house and, this is this, that is, creative content. And I love hearing your perspective of it, being behind the camera.
Yeah.
And, feeling, saying that you can feel that.
We didn't
Yeah.
introduce you properly. This is Riley. He's one of our videographers,
Hello again.
cameramen,
Hi.
creative mind behind the lens.
Yes.
Mastermind.
An art home
One of
veteran.
many.
Art home veteran, dude.
Art home veteran.
He's been here forever.
Yeah.
How long's forever?
It would be a little over 2 years. Would have hit my 2 years this March.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been around, and gonna stick around for a while. So
He was a big part of the growth, for sure.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Back in the dog days of me and Dustin, and
Ooh, let's go there. So compare the dog days, as you say, to now. What has changed with Art Home Photo? How have we grown? And elaborate on that a little bit, if you could.
yeah, I think we've grown in every aspect. Because when it was me and Dustin, it was, it was just two of us, and now we have a whole team, and we're here in an office, and it's structured, and we can get more, we can get everywhere, and we have multiple photographers and people in the office and working all the time, and it really just feels like a team. And not to say that Dustin and I weren't a team. I mean, we were the tightest duo, and we just started there, and have just constantly grown with whether it's, more people or the amount of work we do or the quality, just the quality. I don't think there's a single part that hasn't really grown. And
Yeah.
it's just been really exciting to see and be here for so long and see all the new faces and all the new people we got, and
That's
just
awesome.
be a huge part of that.
Yeah. So, on Art Home's social side of things, because you do a lot of those shoots, but also, the creative video tours, how do you help in the process of creating unique content?
I think for me, I'm a musician. I've been a musician for
Plug it in there.
Yeah, I've been a musician for a long time, but since I was 13, and so I feel like growing up, like, you know, with like developing my brain as a teenager with that like creative mindset, you know, with like how to write songs or listening to things, or I come from a family of artists. My mom is, you know, a painter. My brother is a you know, painter, musician. He's everything. My sister's a writer. So it's nice to be like, get those creative juices just to come into this, you know, into this environment with like, especially video work. But I just feel like I have to like say thanks a lot to my brain. Like I owe a lot to my brain, because honestly, like it just kind of comes naturally, I feel like. And I feel like as a creative, there's enough like natural trust with myself that like, you know, even if I don't have a plan going into a video shoot, like I know that like my brain is going to spit fire ideas and it's just going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly just comes from growing up that way.
Yeah.
You know, and
I
always
think,
having that encouragement.
Yeah, and I think that's like also like being human beings, and we're all artists in different ways, because content creation is art. Like that's what it is.
Sure.
And when you look at it like that way, that's how you can really step into your authenticity and creativity. And I think that we're all vessels for God, the universe, whatever you believe in, that higher power. We're just channels to express that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you're talking about, is like literally your connection to your superconscious mind. And it's literally just, we're all channels and vessels to express God through ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that, because like whether it's like, you know, video creation or especially like writing music, like I always feel like I don't sit there and really, you know, think about it or stress over it. It just comes naturally into that, I feel like, is the vessel.
Yeah, I mean, like Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I know so much about him, but in every interview, he always gave all glory to God. And like people would ask him, how do you make like such great music and hits? And he's like, it's not me, it's God. Yeah. Every time. Like, he never took credit for it. And so like, that's just what it is. It's just.
And I think like if you can embrace that, you know, and like be okay with it, like that's a step with being an artist, is, you know, getting to that point where like you build that trust with yourself. You have the confidence in your brain, or, you know, your creative skills or anything like that. Yeah. And I think once I accepted that and I stopped trying to force my art with whether it's music or video production or whatever, I think that's when things really started to take off. Yeah. And I felt the happiest because I was being the most creative. Exactly, dude. You know? And and if you're forcing yourself to make something and you're stressing out about it, or it doesn't feel right, then generally it's not going to come across, you know, like what we just talked about, with being authentic, with being yourself, with you know, feeling the energy, because art's all about energy, it's all expression. Exactly. And so you want that expression to be, you know, a fun expression.
And I mentioned this last time, but it goes perfectly right now. Like, imagine if you aren't being yourself and you're forcing content and you end up going viral, then you're like, oh my gosh, I just went viral for not being myself. Which I mentioned this last episode, but just like to connect that back to that, like imagine that. Then you would feel like that energy that you would feel is just so negative and then like draining. Because then you're like, now I have to keep making content of me not being myself.
Right.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it's important to like take your strengths, the strengths that you know, or the strengths that you feel the most confident in, and just fully embrace it. Yeah. You know, just get to that point where it's like, I know like myself to the point where I'm good at this thing, or this is what I'm strong in. Let's keep heading in that direction. Let's keep doing that thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
On that note, I want to go into working with you on these shoots. Yes. And seeing you in your element. And we show up, say we show up to a shoot, for example, one at a kayaking place. We show up there and we're like, okay, here's the plan. Like, I prepare a plan for our clients and a script and like something to go off of just to guide them. I don't like when we go word for word by the book on the script. It just seems too calculated. It seems too robotic. So when Riley shows up, he's like, hey, let's do this. Let's do that. And like allowing him as his coworker to go into that creative mode and see him light up like that. And he's like, okay, yeah, this would be so cool. Let's get this angle. And just letting him use that creative juice and flow with it is just awesome. Our videos turn out way better. Ever since we kind of like tapped more into that, I've noticed the difference. So as we evolve as Art Home Social, it's getting really awesome being able to be creative and not like flying by the seat of our pants, but going with our intuition when we're in the scene. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And thank you for the nice words.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. And when his face lights up like that, that's when you know it's like one of his values. And so as a content creator, like when you know you want to make content, you're like, well, I don't even know what to make content about. Like, take a self-assessment, look at like, what are my values? What do I love? Make content about that. And that's how you step into that.
Yeah, they call me Smiley Riley. Everyone knows when I light up. As soon as someone mentions music, I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, I love it.
Goodness gracious. So that's an awesome example of how you can let your creativity bleed into your profession and like show your true self.
Yeah.
that's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It finally
Doing
like
what you
clicks.
love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, everything you feel like, you know, like as a creative, like for me especially, I think like being an artist is my purpose. Like that's the only thing I really know is like being myself, being an artist.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
so then when I get to bring that into what I do for a living, into sport, you know, using my creative skills and my art, I mean, that just feels so like, that's so fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
I can make money doing what I love.
Yeah,
That's
it,
crazy.
It
Yeah.
seems so far-fetched when you're younger and you're trying to figure it out, but once you find it, it's like, man, can't
Yeah.
take this for granted.
Yeah.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And not everyone gets that privilege,
Right.
you know, or it
I
takes
know.
way longer for them to get that
Took me a
privilege.
while,
Yeah.
honestly.
And that's okay. Like
Yeah.
there's no like, you know, date that you have to do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I keep
Yeah.
saying, but just like as an artist, like you have to be okay with yourself. You have to give yourself permission and give yourself some slack, because otherwise that can drive you insane.
It did.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite things to say is everybody's journey is different. Like just reminding that, like
Yeah.
people of that, because like if you're just constantly comparing yourself to like the people nowadays, like there's so many like 18-year-olds that are highly successful millionaires, and like
Yeah.
you know, and it's so hard to get yourself like stuck in the place of comparison, but it's like everybody's journey is different. Like your time will come when it's meant to come. And just trusting in that and not stressing yourself over like comparing yourself to other people, because you can get into that trap
Oh, yeah.
easily
Oh,
in
yeah.
anything. So I
And
think
that-
that's a great reminder.
Yeah, totally. And I think that comparison thing is real. Is getting, you know, I think with social media, like especially,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's hard not to compare yourself. So then
Yeah.
when you're doing, you know, videos or something, and you see someone else do a video, and you think, wow, that's great. I never would have thought of those shots, you know, or I never would have thought of that direction to go with that video. And then you can either, as an artist, you have two choices. You can either interpret that as, you know, growth and something to aspire to be, or ideas. Or I think sometimes it's really easy for you to kind of be down on yourself and be like, man, I wish, you know,
Yeah.
why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I come up with that kind of thing? Why am I not as good as, you know, XYZ on Instagram? But if you allow yourself to go into a growth mindset, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and,
Exactly.
you know, fuel that
Yeah.
with your art, then that's going to set you up for success with your art.
Yeah, it's all about perspective.
Totally.
And I love
that.
that too about social media. Like it is like today has been the worst thing for comparison, because you're constantly like, oh my gosh, this person. But social media is the highlight reel. So that's why, as I talked about in the last episode, is to be vulnerable with your audience and show your times of when you're not growing and you're like, hey, this has been like a challenge I've had to overcome. And when you're able to be vulnerable with your audience, like they can connect. It's
Yeah.
not just some high idol that's like, oh, you're perfect all the time, because none of us are. So like when you are able to make art out of your challenges and hard trials, then that connects with people. And I think that's a great testimony of like your journey.
Yeah, and like what a feeling for you as the artist and also as the audience to be able to relate. You know, it's like that's like the best two-way street you could be
Yeah.
on. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think for example, with like I'm gonna use music a lot as an
Go for
example.
it.
Go for it, dude.
But for music, like, you know, I do it for myself, for me, but I genuinely hope that it can connect and relate to somebody else.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I don't always want to say what the song, like, for example, is about. I want you to interpret it the way that you want it to be.
I love that.
You
so
know.
It's like
much.
open-ended,
Yeah.
so it can connect to more people.
Yeah.
And that's why I think when people like nowadays are getting so like head over their heels about AI and are so scared that, oh my God, my job's going to come for AI, or like all these things. So like as a coach, like, oh, I could just ask AI for advice. But the thing is that you're missing out on the human connection that everybody wants and the actual
Yeah.
real life experiences. And I think that like music nowadays, have you like heard the AI? Like it literally sounds like they can
Scary.
take Drake's voice, make a song, and it sounds exactly like him.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And
goodness.
it's like, that's awesome, and you can make great hits, but the thing is they're missing out on the human connection.
Right.
So
How do
that's-
they perform in concert is my question.
Who knows?
A
And
robot?
see, that-
Literally a robot? A
Exactly,
hologram?
and that's what you're missing is
So
that human
weird.
connection. People love the experience of going to a concert, and so
And following your story too. I like following my
Exactly.
favorite artists on Instagram,
So that's
seeing
why
their life.
think like as a reminder of like, don't get scared about AI. Like, be yourself, be the person and the human that everybody wants to see
With
and like
flaws.
connect with. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all flawed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If any
For
of you
sure.
like Dave Grohl, he's a musician. Looking right at you, camera 2. He always says that like one of the best things about Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. He says like one of the best things about being on stage is that like you have all these people singing songs back to you, but they could all be singing for 1,000 different reasons.
Huh.
You know?
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never even thought about that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
all
like-
singing the words that you wrote, but they're
Yes.
all different to somebody
That's
else.
got to be what an experience, dude.
Especially when there's like
Yeah.
80,000 people in a stadium. Yeah. It gets
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you're headed there, so that'd be awesome for you soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like when you go to a restaurant and you sit, or an airport or something, and you look around and you're like, I wonder what their story is. Why are they here? What are
Yeah.
they doing? Like, what's going on in that life?
Yeah.
It's like touching that life through music.
Correct. Yeah. It's like you know,
crazy.
it's like people watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without- Without being weird, obviously, but just out of curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
Someone you pass on the street, or it's like why street photography is so cool.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you see like all the little things that go on in the city, or how people interact with each other, and I think
Yeah.
it's those
Yeah.
little moments that you get to see with a lot of. I mean, any kind of photography. I think that's why photography is awesome too, because
Mhm.
it's the emotion conveying through the picture, and
Yeah.
there's just an endless amount of expression that can happen,
Yeah.
Nice.
and someone can relate to a photo in 1,000 different ways.
Oh my gosh, yeah. All the arts.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's all tied in.
If you can't tell, it's my favorite thing to talk about.
That's why you're here. That's why we had you on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. So let's tie this into the process of filming standout content. So what's some advice or tidbits we can give people if they work with us, they get all that, of course.
Yeah.
They get standout content. But if, say, they're trying to like break through, create their brand a little bit, and they're struggling, maybe they're not as creative, maybe they're type A, they're more business mindset, less creativity.
Yeah.
What's something we can share with like, I don't know, how they can tap into that creative element a little bit? Carry on.
Yeah.
And we're rolling.
But to answer your question, I mean, there's different ways you could go about this. I mean, personally, being a coach, I can kind of say that side of it.
Mhm.
I think self-awareness is the start of everything. So I think
Yeah.
figuring out who you are first, because, I mean, people, if you ask them, do you know who you are, they're going to be like, yeah, like, it's me. Like,
Right.
how many people have actually dove deep into themselves, assessed what their values are, their talents, what they're good at, what they can give to the world? Not many people have done that. So I think that's the first step of even figuring out point A, like, who am I, what do I love, figuring that out. And then also, I think implementing a way of, like, a spiritual thing in your life too, whether that's God, whether that's just like meditation, connecting to your higher self, whatever that is. I think tapping into that creativity and just like literally silence, like putting 10 minutes of just silence in your day, letting your thoughts just go.
Classroom of silence.
Yeah. Just letting your thoughts go and like see what comes, because I mean, you're constantly like, if you tap into that, like I promise you, you'll get like $1 million ideas. So I think having that, and then also like if you aren't good at like being creative and things like that, which you are, so don't tell yourself that, because all of us are. But if you really do believe that, delegate it out. So like art home social, go to somebody like that.
Yeah.
Personally us. But yeah, if you're just not good at that, that's not your thing, that's fine. Just delegate that out to somebody else.
Yeah, that's great advice. So many people are so scared to hire others to do things because they want to do themselves. They want to make sure
Yeah.
it's still true to them. But if you're not killing it at that thing, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
Yeah, and I think one of the major things that all of us here at Art Home do a really great job of doing is like, making the creative space comfortable.
Yeah.
To like where on both ends, whether it's the person we're trying to help, market, or it's just like we make it a comfortable experience and we're laughing, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And so like I think on both ends of the like you as a videographer or director, you feel comfortable because there's just the energy and everyone's laughing and having a good time, and then like, you know, the person that you're helping out, they're having a good time, and that good energy, I think, really sums up those $1 million ideas.
And so many people are so nervous that we've worked with, and they're like, I hate being on camera, I don't like how I look, I don't like how I sound.
Right.
But we've found ways with experience and like working together to make it more comfortable and fun.
Yeah.
So while it may seem like we're just having a good old time, we are still being serious and getting the job done.
Right.
But that's our approach to making you comfortable.
Yeah, totally. Because if you're not comfortable, I mean, you know, your mind is already going to be distracted by the worries or the anxiety or something. You know. Which doesn't it doesn't allow you to fully kind of embrace what you're doing and be present in the moment, honestly, because you're subconsciously or very consciously, you know, focused on how nervous you are or you know, anxiety. So having that safe space is really nice.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, imagine like being nervous like that, knowing that you're not good at speaking on camera, and then you show up to a shoot and you're just like, you guys per se are like so negative and like, let's get this over with, like that content would turn out absolutely horrible.
Energy is
so
contagious.
the fact that you guys can bring up the energy and show up good energy and make it fun makes it safe and comfortable for people to step into their authentic selves.
And they start to show personality too, and you'll start to see their like each individual like quirks and and we love that. We like when people are funky and goofy.
Exactly, because you want that in your content.
Yeah, showcase yourself, not your fake self.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Full circle. Wow.
Circle.
Yeah.
All around. Do you want to go back into the zigzag thing, into that theory?
Yeah.
We touched on it briefly at the beginning, but do you want to explain the zag when everyone else is zigging concept? So how can this help people that want to stand out?
Yeah. So this is a concept from Marty Neumeier. I didn't make this up. Obviously, I'm not going to ever take the credit for that. But zag when everybody's zigging. So this is like a concept not just in content creation, but just in like anything. So like people who day trade, like do stocks, use this method. Like, and I think for content creation, it's really great because when everybody's making the same trendy content, that's just a lot of noise. How do you think you're going to stand out when everybody else is making the same exact content that everybody else is making? So when everybody's zigging, zag. So go the other way. Make something different. So what I love, Alex Karnev's one of the guys that I look up to, that he teaches this, and he's a great teacher at this. And he teaches people how to make art, like their own expressive art. Make content different than everybody else while still expressing yourself. And so I was thinking, like, stepping back and thinking of it as art and not just trendy content. So that's just my way of thinking about that. And, like, we can help people step into that and look at, like, what trends are, but, like, make the opposite.
Yeah.
Still make it quality, obviously. Never, like, not make it quality, but just make it different.
Right,
yeah.
Right. One of the key points of being an artist that stands out, I think, is being okay with being uncomfortable. You know, because if you're comfortable, then you may repeat yourself. You may go back to the same things that you've been doing.
Yes.
But when there's an amount of uncomfortability that you have with your art, or maybe you're not sure about it, you think it feels right, but it feels a little weird at the same time.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. I think chasing that should always be a really good goal with being I don't want to say maybe even a good artist, because what defines a good and a bad artist, but being prolific with your art, and growth and change, and it also keeps it fun, when you can chase the uncomfortability, I think that's just really something to be sought after, and inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, there's no growth in comfortability.
Right.
Correct.
There's none.
Stagnant.
And which
we talked about this. What?
Stagnant isn't even a real thing. You're either growing or you're decaying.
That's true.
There's no stagnant. There's no stability. So you're either growing or you're decaying. So think it like that. Like when you think like that, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to grow, or I'm dying, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And I also wanted to say, the greater the resistance, the greater the opportunity. So like how you're saying,
God, yeah.
I think when you feel resistance towards something, go towards it. So like
totally,
fear,
totally.
like you're scared of a lion, run towards the lion. That's the only way you get rid of fear is you run towards it.
Sprint.
Yeah.
Don't look back, dude.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true. I'm so uncomfortable in my career. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, so many things in life in the last like 5 years for me have been so uncomfortable, but it's brought out so much more.
Yeah.
Like I've just blossomed through it, and just keeping my head down and running full force towards the goals is what's keeping it like on track.
And what a story.
Oh yeah, I will do that another day. All the things. All the things.
So like, how can you use that story and your journey and create content out of that to share your life, telling a story through your content?
How do I currently do it?
Yeah.
I use a lot of stories, literally, on social media, but I found lately I found my niche. My people are other women who are going through the same thing or are about to go through the same thing that I went through, and also people are trying to grow into a different career. So I switched up everything completely. Yeah. Like I rebirthed myself. And I am finally able to do creative things on the daily. Like it's amazing. Before I was in jobs I didn't like. Desk jobs where I did the same spreadsheets every day. Things that, it's great if you love that. Yeah. Go for it. We need you. Yeah. But it's not me. So how did I transition that into growth? I started to share my true story. So I used to share more of the pretty side, the I'm dressed up, going outside, life's great, hiding behind the smile. Yeah. That was definitely me in the past. But I started to show the nitty gritty, the raising a kid, the toddler tantrums, like things you go through, and turning it into, well, this is what it is. Like we're all dealing with it. Let's share it and talk about it. Exactly. Let's not hide it anymore. And we talked about this last time. Social media kind of switched and transitioned over the last 5 years. Yeah. A lot of people are doing the same thing. They're finally sharing the truth. Yes. It's not just pretty pictures anymore. Yeah. So sharing a little bit more about that and the struggles of being a single mom too. It's been crazy. But it's been beautiful. Yeah. Like things have happened that I never would imagine. Like it's just crazy. Real estate and art home photo have changed a lot of that for me in a good way.
And have you noticed since you've been vulnerable on social media, like knowing like different relationships that have come into your life or clients maybe, like have you noticed a difference?
Yeah, I've had people reach out. So I talked about this earlier. I post on my stories every single day just to share what I'm up to, whether it's a picture of a thumbs up because I don't feel like I want to be on camera and I just am sick or whatever. Or it's me writing an offer, or at work, behind the scenes. I share something every day. Well, there was a time when I didn't share. I think it was like 3 days in a row. I was sick, stressed, pissed off, like life wasn't going well. And I had like 5 people reach out. Hey, you haven't shared on your stories. What's up? Are you still, what are you doing? And I was like, man, like it actually matters. People are following my journey. Yeah. They actually care. Yeah. So I've had friends through that. I've met people through social media, which is crazy. And I've had clients reach out, and I've sold houses to 2 people now through social media. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Conversion, man.
Yeah. And it just shows you the importance of relevancy and relating to people and being vulnerable.
And they commented, they said they chose me and reached out because they see how hard I work and that I'm dedicated to what I do.
Proving our point. Yeah. Proving our point, guys.
Crazy. Yeah. Amazing.
Shows, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That was a lot.
No, that's amazing. Clip that up. Like, somebody clip that up, guys. That was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. What else do we want to talk about? We got 1 minute and a half.
Is there
any other words of wisdom from Riley?
Yeah.
Words of wisdom.
Or any advice to people that come to us to create content? And being better on camera or something. Any advice at all that you get from a videographer standpoint?
Yeah, something that my sister told me like 8 years ago that I never forgot. We were talking about music and playing in bands that I think relates to all forms of art. Nowadays, especially with social media, it is easier to get noticed. It's easy to get noticed, but it's harder to stand out.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me my entire life.
I love that.
Every time that I'm like trying to feel that uncomfortability, I always hear her voice. And yeah, so just something she said one day, and I was like, that's my thing. So
I'm taking that.
I love that.
I'm taking that with
Shout
me.
out to your
That's
sister,
awesome.
man.
thank you.
That's
thank you.
awesome.
Shout out Carly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope
She
you're having
sounds
fun at
awesome.
work.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
gosh.
we good?
Yeah, how to stand out in a world full of noise. Be yourself. Be creative.
Yeah. And last thing, just thank you all for the love on the first episode. That was amazing. Getting better every time. And we hope you enjoyed the second episode. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Spotify too.
And if you have any questions you want us to cover in upcoming podcasts, please share those with us.
Oh yes, perfect.
Let's
I
do
love
that. Open it up.
Yes.
And you can listen to my band Static Arm. We're on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, and we have a new album coming out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll post a link.
Full-length album.
Yes.
I wanted to plug so bad right there. It's okay. Love you guys.